Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world, with me, Deepika, coming up in the next half an hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs a roundtable meeting with Indian artificial intelligence startups, underscores transformative role of AI in the society. Venezuela's interim president Elsie Rodriguez says country is open to energy relations where all parties benefit. And Russia says any troops sent to Ukraine by Western government would be legitimate combat targets. Good evening to all the viewers joining us at this evening broadcast. To begin with the latest, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday chaired a roundtable meeting with Indian artificial intelligence startups at his residence in New Delhi. The meeting was held ahead of the India AI Impact Summit 2026, scheduled to be held next month. The meeting was attended by senior executives from leading AI firms, along with Union Minister of Electronics and Information Technology, Ashwini Vaishnaw, and Minister of State for IT, Jitin Prasad. 12 Indian AI startups shortlisted for the AI for All Global Impact Challenge presented their innovations in the meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. During the interaction, Prime Minister underscored the transformative role of artificial intelligence in society and stressed the need for ethical, transparent, and inclusive AI development. He said Indian startups are co-architects of the country's future and urged them to build AI solutions that are made in India, made for the world, while promoting affordability, data privacy, regional languages, and indigenous content. In a major announcement, US President Donald Trump said on Wednesday that Venezuela would now purchase only American-made products with the money they receive from the new oil deal. Trump will meet American oil executives on Friday to discuss plans for Venezuela's oil sector, days after a raid that toppled the country's leader. Here's more.
The United States on Wednesday laid out an energy deal with Venezuela, saying it will partially roll back sanctions to allow the sale of oil products from the country. The details were shared in a Department of Energy fact sheet. White House said that energy deal will benefit both the American people and the Venezuelans.
This was a deal made by the president and his team with the Venezuelan interim authorities. This will benefit both the American people and the Venezuelan people. And Secretary Wright and the Department of Energy are working with the interim authorities and also with the private oil industry to execute on this historic energy deal. That's not only good for the United States, but it's also going to revive the prosperity, the safety, the security of both the United States and Venezuela as well.
US President Trump had earlier announced that the interim leaders have agreed to US-managed marketing of 30 to 50 million barrels of crude, repeatedly adding that his country will run Venezuela despite having no forces on the ground. Trump also said on social media that Venezuela will be buying only US-made products with the money they receive from the deal. Meanwhile, US seized two Venezuela-linked oil tankers in the Atlantic Ocean on Wednesday, one sailing under Russia's flag. The Mara, formerly known as Bella 1, was empty of oil, but the US says it and M. Sofia belonged to a shadow fleet of tankers used to transport sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran. The American operation was supported by Britain's Royal Air Force and one of its military vessels. Moscow has denounced the seizure of the tanker sailing under its flag and demanded that US treat Russians aboard properly and permits them to return to Russia quickly. Anamika Pandey for DD India.
Greenland should hold direct talks with the US government without Denmark. Greenlandic opposition leader said. Leader of Nelarik, which is the largest opposition party and the most prominent political voice for Greenland's independence, said that the current government should have a dialogue with the US government without Denmark. A U.S. immigration officer shot and killed an American woman on a Minneapolis street on Wednesday amid an immigration enforcement surge. Immigration and Customs Enforcement stated that the woman attempted to ram the agents with her car, but Mayor Jacob Frey and Governor Tim Walz have publicly disputed that account. Let's take a look at this report for more details.
A U.S. immigration agent shot and killed a 37-year-old woman in her car in Minneapolis on Wednesday amid an immigration enforcement surge. A widely shared video of the incident shows a Honda SUV apparently blocking unmarked law enforcement vehicles as they attempt to drive down a snow-covered street. The driver, named Renee Nicole Good, attempted to drive off as the officers approached and tried to open her door, with one agent firing 3 times with a handgun as the vehicle pulled away. U.S. authorities stated that the women allegedly sought to ram Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers with the vehicle. U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem defended the ICE officer, calling the women's action a domestic act of terrorism.
ICE agents repeatedly ordered her to get out of the car and to stop obstructing law enforcement, but she refused to obey their commands. She then proceeded to weaponize her vehicle, and she attempted to run a law enforcement officer over. This appears as an attempt to kill or to cause bodily harm to agents, an act of domestic terrorism. The ICE officer, fearing for his life and the other officers around him and the safety of the public, fired defensive shots. He used his training to save his own life and that of his colleagues. He was treated at a local hospital, has been released, and is now with family.
U.S. President Donald Trump also said the Minneapolis shooting appeared to be an act of self-defense, claiming the women aggressively resisted the officers and deliberately ran over an ICE agent, prompting the officer to shoot her. Democrats who govern Minnesota are up in arms against the Trump administration. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey dismissed the government's claim and urged ICE officers to leave the city during a second day of mass immigration raids.
They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bullshit. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying, getting killed.
Democratic Governor Tim Walz placed the blame for the shooting on the Trump administration.
We have been warning for weeks that the Trump administration's dangerous, sensationalized operations are a threat to our public safety, that someone was going to get hurt. Just yesterday, I said exactly that. What we're seeing is the consequences of governance designed to generate fear, headlines, and conflict. It's governing by reality TV. And today that recklessness cost someone their life. I've issued a warning order to prepare the Minnesota National Guard. We have soldiers in training and prepared to be deployed if necessary.
The shooting drew hundreds of protesters into the frigid streets near the scene, some of whom were met by heavily armed federal agents wearing gas masks who fired chemical irritants. ICE's federal agents have been at the forefront of the Trump administration's immigration deportation drive, despite the objections of local officials. Bureau Report, DD India.
Russia on Thursday said it would consider the presence of any foreign troops in Ukraine a legitimate military target. The comments came after Ukraine allies said they had agreed to key security guarantees for Kyiv at a summit in Paris. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said in a statement that all such units and facilities will be considered legitimate military targets for the Russian armed forces, and the warnings have been repeatedly issued at the highest levels and remains valid. It also added that Ukraine and its European backers an axis of war, and that deployment of a European peacekeeping force were far from anything Russia could accept at the end of the war. In a rare diplomatic breakthrough in West Asia, Israel and Syria have reached an agreement to exchange intelligence and explore commercial cooperation in a bid to ease military tensions and strengthen diplomatic engagement. According to a joint statement issued by the US State Department on behalf of all 3 parties, the understanding emerged from talks held in Paris under the supervision of US Special Envoy Tom Parv. Washington welcomed the move, calling it a positive step towards long-term stability, marking a notable step forward. The agreement includes plans to facilitate intelligence sharing, military coordination, diplomatic dialogue and commercial initiatives with a mechanism to address disputes and prevent misunderstandings. French farmers staged major protests across Paris on Thursday, blockading key locations to oppose a proposed European Union free trade agreement with South American bloc Mercosur and to highlight local grievances. The demonstrations were called by several farming unions who fear that the planned deal with Mercosur bloc would lead to a surge of cheap agricultural imports into Europe, threatening the livelihoods of local farmers.
We came here. It's symbolic, completely symbolic. We came to bring our demands as close as possible to those who can provide solutions. We have been protesting for 2 years. 2 years saying that agriculture is in trouble. 2 years saying that farmers are suffering and nothing is happening.
The German capital of Berlin has been hit by a massive power outage, as we've reported earlier in the week. Meanwhile, power has been restored to most households. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle and joins me from Berlin. Good afternoon, Lars. What are the latest developments we are tracking?
Thanks for having me. Yes, indeed, power has been restored, including to my house, although it still is cold. I guess it takes some time to heat up once everything has cooled off to almost freezing temperatures. Anyway, this massive power outage was caused by an arson attack committed by left-wing extremists. Their aim was to sabotage the fossil fuel industry. They did, after all, attack a gas-fired power plant. There was some talk that indeed Russia might play a role in the attack. However, the German government has ruled that out and says it does not seem like any foreign actors had been involved. Now, like I said, power is back. People are moving back into their homes. Around 100,000 Berliners had been affected in all, and many had to leave their houses and apartments as there was no heat. And we're in the midst of the harshest cold front we've seen in a while.
Lars, also tell us, what impact does this all have on business in the area?
Well, there are no precise numbers out at this point, but it's clear already that this massive power outage has cost businesses in the area millions of euros. The power outage did not, in fact, hit a particularly industrial area at all. The affected districts are mostly residential. But that actually means that those 3,000 businesses that were affected were small businesses, and those are usually not equipped with emergency backup. So many stores had to close for days. Many grocery stores also lost tons of product with fridges out and such. Some actually donated food to shelters before it would perish. So that's good, of course, but the financial damage has been done. Also, there were many offices closed or craftsmen that couldn't work, restaurants and hotels that couldn't have any guests. Local authorities are saying it will all cost the economy many millions.
So what consequences will Berlin take from this? Can they better protect themselves in future?
Well, besides the point that you can probably never be 100% safe from attacks, some things will likely be improved. The power plant that was sabotaged was apparently not very secure. One would assume that similar infrastructure will in future be better protected. But also the government will likely face some criticism for not having enough generators available faster. Also, many businesses will likely make sure they protect themselves better, if possible, by buying generators themselves, just so they can power critical equipment. That, of course, could lead to a bit of an uptick in business for some companies providing such machines. So there's always a few winners in every crisis as well.
Thank you so much, Lars, for joining us. Time to take a short break, but still to come on the other side. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says Somnath attacks couldn't diminish the eternal faith of millions. Reads all on Somnath, Swabhiman, Parv. The EU emerges as the rising hub for sports tourism propelled by Beach Games 2026.
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you. We read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD India.
Welcome back. After that short break, you're watching DD India Live. Well, the historic Somnath temple will resonate with the chants, while the skies over the Arabian Sea will light up with a mega drone spectacle as the 3-day Somnath Swabhiman Parv begins. Sharing the pictures from his previous visit to Somnath on social media platform X, Prime Minister Narendra Modi urged the visitors to share their pictures using the hashtag Somnath Swabhiman Parv. Remembering the day in January 1026, Somnath faced its first ever attack. Prime Minister Modi wrote on X that the attack and the subsequent attacks couldn't diminish the eternal faith of millions, nor break the civilizational spirit that rebuilt Somnath time and again. He explained that Somnath Swabhiman Parv is about remembering the countless children of Bharat Mata who never compromised with their principles and ethos. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also shared some glimpses of a program held in Somnath on 31st of October back in the year 2001. Well, this was the year when we marked 50 years since the rebuilt Somnath temple opened its doors in 1951 in the presence of the then President Dr. Rajendra Prasad. The efforts of Sardar Patel, A.M. Munshi and several others were noteworthy. The Ministry of Mines is organizing the Rashtriya Khanij Chintan Shivir 2026 from the 8th till the 10th of January in Gandhinagar, Gujarat, aimed at deepening center-state coordination and addressing key regulatory and developmental issues in the mining sector. A major focus of the conclave will be the critical minerals mission, with deliberations centered on strengthening domestic availability of critical and strategic minerals vital for clean energy transition, advanced manufacturing and emerging technologies. Discussions will cover boosting exploration, securing supply chains, promoting domestic processing and value addition, and ensuring long-term mineral security. The platform is expected to facilitate exchange of best practices between the centre and states and help chart a coordinated roadmap for the sustainable growth of India's mining sector in line with national priorities. Sacred relics believed to be linked to Lord Buddha are drawing the visitors in India's national capital. The rare Piprava relics, including bone fragments, ancient jewels and a massive stone coffer, are on public display in New Delhi as part of a 6-month-long exhibition. Here's more.
The sacred Piprahua relics, which include bone fragments believed to be of the Buddha, a sandstone coffer, and offerings such as ornaments and gemstones, are currently on display in New Delhi as part of a grand exposition. The exposition will run for 6 months.
These jewels, you have to visualize that these jewels were made almost 2,000 years back, and they were kept in a stone box. That box itself weighs around 1,500 kg, and that is also one of the features in the exposition.
Titled The Light and the Lotus, Relics of the Awakened One, and hosted at the Rai Pithora Cultural Complex in South Delhi, it was inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on January 3rd. The Piprahua relics were excavated in northern India by a British engineer, William Claxton Pepe, in 1898. Following the discovery, portions of the relics were distributed globally, with a part gifted to the King of Siam, another one taken to England, and a part preserved at the Indian Museum in Calcutta. A selection of the relics, known as the Piprahua gems, retained by Pepe's descendants, was listed for auction by Sotheby's Hong Kong on May 7th last year. However, the auction was halted and the relics were returned in 2025 after the Ministry of Culture intervened with the support of Buddhist communities worldwide.
So when they were being sold by Sotheby's, and that is what we told the Sotheby's, that these are Lord Buddha himself, which cannot be sold. And that was the speech we made, and it was against all the moral values, and again not as per the UNESCO guidelines.
The exposition features over 80 objects, including sculptures, manuscripts, thankas and ritual items, spanning from the 6th century BC to the present.
In Nepal, 44 candidates from 7 political parties have filed nomination for 19 vacant seats in National Assembly. The Election Commission of Nepal has released the list of candidates for the National Assembly election on January the 25th. Nepal's EC spokesperson Narayan Prasad Bhattarai said that candidate registrations were completely peaceful across all 7 provincial capitals. Known for its scenic beaches, Diu is now gaining recognition as a rising hub for sports tourism. Through Khelo India Beach Games, organized under the Government of India's Khelo India scheme, the island is witnessing a growing sporting culture along with a surge in tourist footfall. Our next report gets you more details. Take a look.
Situated near the Gujarat coast in the middle of the Arabian Sea, the picturesque island of Diu is well known as a tourist destination. However, over the past years, Diu has carved out a distinct identity as a hub for sports tourism. This transformation has been made possible through the Khelo India Beach Games, organized under Government of India's Khelo India scheme. These games being held on Diu's beaches are not only important for athletes, but are also playing a crucial role in promoting sports tourism and nurturing a new sporting culture in the region.
In 2024, we organized the first multi-sports beach games in Diu in January of 2024. Under the Government of India flagship program of Khelo India, we organized first Khelo India Beach Games in May 2025. Because of beach games in this area, the tourist activities are promoted, and we as a UT administration, we are so happy that we are emerging as a tourist hub or sports tourism hub in this region.
जब से ये बीच गेम को हमारे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र भाई दामोदर दास मोदी के नेतृत्व में और श्रीमान हमारे उपराज्यपाल प्रफुल्ल भाई पटेल साहब के नेतृत्व में दीव में खेलो इंडिया के जब से ये लेके आए उसके बाद में हम लोगों को बहुत फ़ायदा हुआ है। एक छोटे छोटे वेंडर है उनको भी बहुत फ़ायदा हुआ है। टूरिज़्म को तो इतना फ़ायदा हुआ है कि हम लोग बहुत खुश हैं, और जैसे भी खिलाड़ी लोग आते हैं उनके लिए हम लोगों ने स्पेशल डिस्काउंट भी कर रखा है।
Since the launch of Khelo India Beach Games in Diu, the number of tourists visiting the island has also seen a significant rise.
We've seen many beaches, but the vibe here is exceptional in terms of the energy initiative that government has taken to take on the youth and to encourage playing for young Indians and kids, to promote playing and having fun along with just not enjoying the culture. So that is really very good.
Diu जो अपने आप ही ना एक वाटर स्पोर्ट्स और एक टूरिस्ट अट्रैक्शन के लिए बहुत ही अच्छी जगह है, एंड वी ऑल नो अबाउट इट। ठीक है, हमने भी बहुत अच्छा एंजॉय किया वाटर स्पोर्ट्स के, लेकिन जो अभी जो नया वाटर स्पोर्ट्स जो उद्घाटन हुआ है बीच स्पोर्ट्स, दैट इज़ मैजेस्टिक बिकॉज यू नो एक तो उसमें अपॉर्चुनिटी भी है खिलाड़ियों के लिए, अपॉर्चुनिटी टूरिस्ट के लिए, प्लस इट गिव्स मोटिवेशन टू अदर यंगस्टर्स ऑल्सो टू एम्बार्क इन टू द न्यू वाटर स्पोर्ट्स एक्टिविटीज़। गवर्नमेंट का बहुत अच्छा इनिशिएटिव है ये, और मुझे लगता है कि हम सबको आना चाहिए, जस्ट नॉट टू एंजॉय द बीच ऑल्सो बट ऐसी चीज़ें देखने के लिए भी।
The Khelo India Beach Games were first organized in an informal format in 2024. Following its remarkable success, the first official edition was held in 2025, and now the second edition is being organized this year. The event is proving to be significant not only from a sporting perspective, but also in strengthening Dio's position as an emerging sports tourism destination. Sushil Kumar's report, Dio, DD India.
And finally, a spectacular natural display lit up the skies over western Greenland as the northern lights danced above the airport. A stunning reminder of nature's beauty, the aurora borealis brought a brilliant end to the day's visual. Take a look and enjoy the visuals. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Deepika, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.